Hey everybody, welcome back to another ArmaxisChallenge YouTube video. Today, we're going to be taking a look at another very easy box on Hack the Box challenges. So we'll be taking a look at Armaxis box, and we do have two ports here with the host. But before we look at the host, we want to download the files and check them out. I've already gone to download them, but download them and take a look at what the files have in store. The first thing that we like to do always is to check the Docker file to see what is going on. And the first thing that we notice here is that there is a mailhog instance running. This means there's probably emails within this box that we need to take a look at. In addition to that, it's exposing two ports, port 8080 and 1337, as well as there's the flag in /flag.txt. Again, this is good to know because that means we most likely have a local file inclusion or LFI, server-side request forgery, or RC on the box, but we need to figure out which one it is. Taking a look at the build docker.sh, we could just see that it does expose those two ports. And we could start checking out both the web applications. So one of them is called Challenge, the other one is called Email App. We'll take a look at the Email App quick to see if there's anything that we could work with, but it looks to be just a standard mailing application that retrieves it from the local host and then it shows up on the front end. So there's not a whole lot really going on with this. We could check the packages to see if there's anything outdated, which everything looks to be fine there. But let's take a look at the true application, the application that we're going to be testing on. And we could see that there are a couple functions. So we have a JWT generation script that verifies the token with a secret token that is completely random with 69 bytes. So it looks like we can't do anything with this secret key or anything of that nature just because of how long it is. We can't go about brute forcing it or tampering with this JWT. So we'll leave that alone. We'll head on over to index.js and we could see that there are a couple of routes that we can work with, the /static as well as the / which leads through routes. So we can head on over to the routes section and take a look at what we have. First things first is we see that it does have a lot more when it comes to endpoints. So we have a reset password button, we have a register, login. The login is getting the email and password and it's checking it to make sure that everything is sound. There's also HTTP only set to true, meaning we won't be able to do anything with cross-site scripting because HTTP only prevents JavaScript from accessing the cookies. So if anything, we would need to do a session writing attack. We could see that there is an admin role that we may need to gain access to. And it looks like in order to actually use the application, we're going to need to become an admin. And if we are an admin, it's going to send over a parse note through the parse markdown using the note that we supplied within the post request. So that's something of interest to keep in mind, is that this specific function here redirects us to the markdown.js and it just goes about rendering it. We'll play a little bit with the regex to see what this regex is doing, but it looks like it is executing an unsafe way of executing a curl command using the URL parameter that we supply it, and then it embeds it into base64, which is super handy. So I'm assuming it just embeds an image onto the page, but first it executes it through curl so curl can pull it down and then convert it into base64. So that is something that we will need to look at later down the line. But for now, let's go back to index.js and keep taking a look at what we have. There is a /weapons in place as well. That could just see all the different kinds of weapons. There's also the reset password request and reset password post. And it looks like we have a comment here saying add email parameter. And that may be our entry point. So when we do request, it takes the email address and it checks to see whether or not the email is valid. If it is, it goes based on the user by email, and then it sends over a reset token, I guess, to our mail server that we just saw in the previous application. We would have to retrieve the token. And then from there, we would have to modify the post request to also add the email of whatever user we're looking for, which I guess in our case would be the administrator. So we could try to find this administrator just by searching through the code and seeing if maybe it's here somewhere. So let's just look for admin inside the search and let's see if anything shows up. We could see here that inside of the database.js, there is an admin at Armax-Hack the Box. So we can probably use this to start out. So let's head on over to the website and let's take a look. So the first one we have is on port 59587. So we'll go to 59587. And when we access it, we could see that we do have the email and password login register, as well as the forgot password. So before we do that, we're just going to quickly copy this on over to a new tab, and we'll also do the other port, which is 57389. And it looks like our email address is test@email.hackthebox. So we're going to have to use this email address in order to receive emails, I'm assuming. So we will come back here and we'll just quickly register. So we'll do test@email.hackthebox, and then we'll do just, test as the password. That's fine. We'll click on register and we can see that registration was successful. And again, in the source code, we said that the forgot password is most likely going to be our way in. So we're going to quickly do forgot password, and we're just going to do again test@email.hackthebox. We'll click request, and we can see here that we do need the token as well as the new password. Let me quickly set up Burp Suite. All right, so now that we have Chromium, what we're going to do is we're just going to do test@email.hackthebox again. We'll click on request code. We can see that the password reset was sent to the email address. When we reload this page, we can see that the brand new reset token is now here. So we can copy this, we'll paste it on in, and we'll just set a new password. Again, we'll just leave it at test, but this time we're actually going to intercept it, close that out, click reset password, and we're going to modify this just a little bit. So instead of email being test@email.hackthebox, we're going to do the email that we found within the code. So we're going to take the admin email and we're going to paste it into the Burp Suite, and then we'll ship it off to the server. And we can see that the password reset was successful. So if we go back now to the login page, and we could try to log in again, we could try the admin email address as well as the password, which we set to test. We can click on login, and we see that login is now successful, meaning that we took over the administrator account. Now we need to figure out the second vulnerability, which we already previously saw, which was the Markdown. So we could just try to see what's going on. And it says here that the note is going to be Markdown. We need to set this to an integer. And we could just try some basic stuff just to see what's going on. So we could just try something like H1 and then hello. And then we could do H1 again. And we're going to enter our email address. So we could do, let's say, I don't know, test@email.com or .hackthebox. We'll do dispatch weapon, and we could see whether or not that worked by going into home. And let's see if anything worked, and it looks like that there was no dispatch yet. That's because we shipped it off to the test account that we did. Did we get any new emails being sent to us? It doesn't look like it did. So we're just going to stick with that email, the admin email address from now on. So let's try to do it one more time. So we'll do 1, and then we'll just try to do an H1 because Markdown also sometimes works with HTML. So we'll just dispatch the weapon. We'll see if we go to home or not, if it'll work, and it doesn't look like it will. So we'll just quickly modify this to go to here, and we'll just set this one more time, say login. And when we access it again, we can now see that we have a big hello here. So this means that we do have HTML injection, but how do we know whether or not we have some form of LFI RCE? So when it comes to Markdown, and we'll go back quickly to the file that has the markdown.js. If we come back here, we do see that the content.replace does have a regex here, and we need to understand what this regex is doing. So we're going to head on over to a quick tool called regex matchmaker, which is just called regexr.com. This basically shows us what's good and what's bad. And how you can tell is by just doing specific things, like let's say you're trying to test it out. If you try to do something, it continuously says no matches found until you do have a match. So in this case, when it comes to the regex, what we could do is we could just do brackets with the parentheses as well as a bang in front of it. And what this does in Markdown is this just allows you to put in a URL, and then it truncates it So you can click on the URL and then it'll access it through the browser. In this case, that's all this regex is doing. As we can see, we have matches 1 as well as it's being highlighted on this. Again, if we do try to remove this bang, we can see that that match now goes away. We now have 0 matches as well as nothing is being highlighted. So we know now that this is the way to go with this specific regex. And we can also quickly look up something like Markdown LFI payload. And we could just see if there is an LFI payload for Markdown, and we can see that it looks like there is. So we could just copy this and we could try to paste it on into our program. So we can come back over here. Doesn't really matter what we put inside the price, the weapon name. We do care about this though. So in this case, we'll just do Etsy password just to see if it works. We'll set it to be the admin email address and we'll go back to weapons. When we click reload, we could see that it does say embedded image, but we don't see the image because again, it's base 64. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to inspect it and we're going to have to grab this base 64 and we're going to have to see what is inside. So we'll come back over here and we'll do an echo, have to add that padding, and then we'll do base 64 tech D. And we can see here that we do have the Etsy password file from the machine. And because we know where the flag.txt is, we can head back on over to dispatch weapon and we'll just supply with random stuff again. Again, we're not going to do that. So we're just going to do bang with the brackets, parentheses, file, colon, / / and then flag.txt. We'll set the admin as well and we'll click send and we can see again that the weapon was dispatched. So when we do that and we head back on over to weapons, we can see we get another embedded image. And by inspecting that, we can see what is going on. So we'll copy this on over to, again, our terminal. And we'll do an echo on this. And then base 64 tag D. And we can see here that we do retrieve the flag, Markdown bugs in the wild. So this was a pretty fun challenge. Like I said in the previous episode, we have to chain a lot of vulnerabilities when it comes to Hack the Box challenges. So expect to see more complex things coming down the line. If you did enjoy this video, please let me know in the comment section down below, and please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.